So over the course of the next year, Tru got in contact with two very important men. First, he drove to New York City to meet up with their 8-Tray leader named Biz. He pitched him the idea of starting 8-Tray in Baltimore, and Biz approved. However, he explained to him that the man he needs to talk to was all the way in LA where the Trays originated. So that's when he passed him the number of a man nicknamed Big Menace, the leader of the back west set of 8-Tray. So after communicating over the phone, Tru took a flight to LA to meet up with Big Menace.
You see, and I grew up around OGs, my pop, you know what I mean? Even though my dad wasn't an OG his whole life, because, the older you get, but I grew up around people that like mature people. Respect is everything. And I keep telling these young niggas that respect is everything. You see, all this was respect. He said, now you got to go talk to him. He did that. You got to go do this. He did that. He did it the respectful way. I respect stuff like that. Stuff like that don't cause drama and war and beef and unnecessary bodies dropping. Whatever happened to respect? You know how much lives could have been saved if niggas just had a little bit respect? And it ain't even that. Just respect people, bro.
During their meeting, Menace explained the history of 8-Tray, what they represent, and how they get down. He stressed that fear and domination are their main strengths, and that he—
What up, YouTube? And of course, shout out to my lads. You clicked the title, you read the page, so I'm gonna just get to the point. It says how one man took out an entire gang in Baltimore. Now, I probably got my hat on backwards, but let me rock, because I don't want the ball in my face. Hey, yo. Shout out Baltimore. I like them Baltimore girls. I ain't gonna lie. So when I read this title, I was like, you know what? It might be some Baltimore shit up in here that I could learn. So when I go to Baltimore to go get me a Baltimore girl, I don't get robbed, any of that, because I'm a little more aware of what's going on. All right, so shout out to Swamp Stories. I believe this is like a clip of something, because he does these really long documentaries, but we don't got time for all that. So we're just gonna get to the clip, to the rice and beans. So shout out to him. Subscribe to his vibe. Subscribe to my vibe. Let's get it.
a man named Trayvon Hall, also known as G Tru. Trayvon grew up in West Baltimore, specifically the corner of North Hilton and West Baltimore. Historically, this has been one of the most dangerous corners in the city, where numerous rivalries have taken place. Well, Tru took major pride in his corner, and he wanted to start a crew that could take it over. He loved the idea of being the leader of a feared crew, a man who could tell other men what to do. And that's when he discovered the 8-Tray gangster Crips in LA. He heard that they had been the most feared for decades, only to rival the Hoovers. And because the Hoovers already existed in his city, he wanted to set up the 8-Tray in Baltimore as well. So over the course of the next year, Tru got in contact with two very important men. First, he drove to New York City to meet up with their 8-Tray leader named Biz. He pitched him the idea of starting 8-Tray in Baltimore, and Biz approved. However, he explained to him that the man he needs to talk to was all the way in LA where the Trays originated. So that's when he passed him the number of a man nicknamed Big Menace, the leader of the back west set of 8-Tray. So after communicating over the phone, Tru took a flight to LA to meet up with Big Menace.
You see, and I grew up around OGs, my pop, you know what I mean? Even though my dad wasn't an OG his whole life, because, the older you get, but I grew up around people that like mature people. Respect is everything. And I keep telling these young niggas that respect is everything. You see, all this was respect. He said, now you got to go talk to him. He did that. You got to go do this. He did that. He did it the respectful way. I respect stuff like that. Stuff like that don't cause drama and war and beef and unnecessary bodies dropping. Whatever happened to respect? You know how much lives could have been saved if niggas just had a little bit respect? And it ain't even that. Just respect people, bro.
During their meeting, Menace explained the history of 8-Tray, what they represent, and how they get down. He stressed that fear and domination are their main strengths, and that he must instill that in his members. After kicking it some more, the two became close, and Menace was happy to approve G Tru as the Baltimore 8-Tray leader. So in 2013, G Tru returned to West Baltimore and began recruiting. The process took some time, but things started to come together in 2015. 5 official 8-Tray neighborhoods were formed, but for this video we focus on G Tru's side. He led the Back West clique, which covered Lexington Terrace and the North Hilton area. Well, in 2015, his squad pretty much stayed out of the way to recruit members. But then in the spring of 2016, everything changed. If you've seen my previous videos, you know that gas stations and corners are very important in the city of Baltimore.
Yo, gas stations are very important in any city you go to. Niggas is getting clapped at the gas station. I keep spreading these news around because I want you to be careful because bullets ain't got no name. And anybody goes to a gas station. People bring their kids to the gas station. It's sad, it's sick, it's honestly twisted. I'm on some Kendrick shit. If you ain't gonna walk up and deal with your problem, then you don't need to be shooting. Point blank, period. You niggas is hitting babies, women, people ain't got nothing to do with it. You niggas is soft if you ask me. If you're not gonna walk up and deal with your specific problem at that specific moment, then you don't need to be doing that specifically. Pissing me off.
Gas stations are prime locations to sell all kinds of things, and once a crew claims one, you can pretty much find them there 24 hours a day. Well, early on, G Tru decided to have members post up on some very important corners. First was the Sunoco gas station on North Hilton, and next was the Lexington Terrace projects. Of course, not everyone was thrilled with this, especially BGF. At the time, BGF was the most feared in Baltimore, and they happened to claim all of these same corners. Well, after a short while, BGF began noticing these new Trey members on their turf. And in Baltimore, this usually ends in one devastating way. But thankfully, instead of making a demonstration, BGF simply informed the Trey members to stay off their territory. Even though this was a noble approach, G Tru was not happy when he heard the news. He wanted to use this as an opportunity to prove a point, to show the city of Baltimore what Trey is all about. So in May of 2016, Tru started an iMessage group chat with all of his Trey members. His first text was asking members to send pictures of BGF members so they all knew who to look for. They sent pictures of two men, Shanell Brown and Albert Pittman. These are the
Oh boy.
two West Baltimore BGF members who they believed were the most feared. And that's when Tru texted the group chat saying that they better bash these two men before they become respected Trey members. He then said to become a Trey, you must bash a J, referring to BGF's nickname. The texts were directed to 4 prospective members: Darren Hickman, also known as Chisel, Marcus Williams, also known as Gangster C, Keith Pinson, also known as Gotti, and Alvin Johnson, also known as Jug. So on May 18th, 2016, the men began roaming around West Baltimore looking for the 2 BGF members. On the night of May 18th, Gotti texted the group chat that he spotted Albert Pittman at the basketball courts in Lexington Terrace. The courts happened to be located in the middle of the projects, and Gotti claimed that he didn't know how to get in. So Tru then questioned why he didn't, quote, blast from the outside. Gotti responded by saying that he didn't want to endanger anyone who wasn't involved.
I respect that.
Even though this was a thoughtful and reasonable answer, Tru was upset and felt like Trey members shouldn't care. So then he responded to the group by saying, I don't care who's BGF or not, I'm rocking anything I see. He expected this careless and reckless attitude to rub off on the other members, but instead they stuck to their morals. But as instructed, they spun around the BGF area for over a month, but no moves were ever made. And that takes us to June 23rd, 2016. It's a Thursday night in West Baltimore, and Chisel, Jug, and Gangster C get in their car. They then head to Lexington Terrace, where they spot Albert Pittman and Shanell Brown outside. So that's when all of the Trey members.
Oh boy. This just sounds like an unfortunate situation. And shit that really pissed me off is that why as a community, it's enough money. Listen to me. Listen to me. I probably I don't want to take your advice, TT. Listen. So you probably should. And I don't have to look over my shoulders every 2 seconds. So you probably should. And I think I'm pretty successful. So you probably should. There's enough money for everybody. There's so much money right now that in our world, in our little poor world, we think that there's not. Just look at how much billions is out there. I can assure you there's enough money for every nigga to eat. There's enough city, there's enough corners for everybody to live comfortably.
Top out. Thankfully, they hit nothing but plywood and everyone was okay. After hearing the news, G Tru expressed his frustrations in the group chat. He simply could not believe that they couldn't get the job done, so he decided to give them another month of trying, but they never came through. So finally, in mid-July, Tru texted the group chat that he would go do it himself. July 18th, 2016. Through an acquaintance, Tru gets Albert Pittman's location all the way in East Baltimore. The area is controlled by another A-Tray section nicknamed the Nutty North Side. So at 8:30 p.m. by himself, Tru drives out to the location. He waits in front of the apartment for 15 minutes until Albert walks outside, and that's when he makes his move. Directly after this, Tru drives home and texts the group chat 2 simple words: checkmate. This was of course the first A-Tray incident, and Tru hoped that it would set the trend for the rest of the members. But after a couple months passed and nothing had happened, he began getting frustrated. On October 1st, 2016, Tru contacted his fellow A-Tray leaders in other states. He asked them what to do about inactive members who won't follow directions. The leaders told him to weed out members who didn't follow directions and to only keep those who followed his orders. The only problem was that Tru had no one who was coming through for him, so that would mean he had to get rid of everyone. So instead, he had to keep to himself about his frustrations and just wait patiently. Nothing would happen for 4 months, and Tru would go out and do it for himself once again. November 11th, 2016. By himself, Tru drives to the Lexington Terrace and spins around the block. And this time in front of the food mart, he spots Shaheem Brown. So that's when he parks his car and hops out. Tru had now taken out 2 very important BGF members, and this meant that they were looking for revenge. All of the 8-Tray members knew this, so they decided to lay low, and that even includes Tru, if you can believe that. So for 3.5 months, they all relaxed.
Nah, that's hard to believe, cause you know, he's a savage.
But then in early 2017, bad news would come for A-Tray. On February 25th, 2017, Tru would get a call from a fellow member that A-Tray's David Jackson had been rushed to the hospital. He heard that David had been hit in the leg, so he rushes over to the hospital to see if he's okay. After arriving, Tru learned that it was actually David's doing on accident, and this made him roll his eyes. Of course, he was relieved that BGF hadn't done this, but on the same token, he was embarrassed that his squad was an absolute mess. Over the coming months, Tru would really contemplate what he needed to do as a leader. Part of this process was long talks with the New York and LA leaders. He even began writing a book about A-Tray and all of their history. Well, after this period, Tru would jump
That sounds like a fire ass book, you know? We love our history. I want to read it.
back into the group chat. His simple message was that if anyone wants to continue being a member, they must, quote, swing the hammer. This message caused a stir in the group chat, with members pointing fingers left and right. Each member began giving excuses on why they haven't been active. Well, Tru did not want to hear it, so instead he went out to recruit some new members. He quickly found a wild man that reminded him of himself. This would be a man named Deontay Emons, also known as Tip. Deontay had no fear of anyone, and he probably had a couple
Damn, that sound like a Vaughn ass nigga, you know, give you chills. You know, them stand up ass niggas. I like to being around those type of niggas. I ain't gonna lie, cause those type of niggas, who calling me eating dick? But look, those type of niggas, they stand on business. They just don't care. You know, like, you ever been around a nigga that just don't give a fuck? Those the best type of niggas to be around. You know what I mean? I'm telling you.
screws loose as well. All of this making him what Tru believed was the perfect 8-Tray member. After becoming an official member, Tay was placed on Tru's childhood corner. Specifically, Deontay and Maurice Mitch Finney posted up at the Seneca gas station on North Hilton. This is where they hustled and held down the block for G Tru. Well, with Deontay's wild temper, it was only a matter of time before things went left. And that takes us to July 14th, 2017. It's a regular Friday evening in West Baltimore, and Tay and Mitch are hanging out at the Seneca gas station. At 8 p.m. they notice something strange. A couple of men posted up on the other side of the street. So together, Tay and Mitch walk across the street to confront the men. They ask them who they are and what they claim. The men tell them that they represent the Abington Crew, a subset of BGF. Their territory is located across the street from 8-Tray, so it only makes sense for them to post up there. Regardless, Deontay gets angry and tells the men to leave the area. One of the men named Christopher Hockaday refuses and stands his ground. Deontay gets extremely frustrated and lets his emotions get the best of him.
Damn.
The Abington boys were not happy to say the least, as Deontay had no reason to take it this far. After all, the territory belonged to both sides, as it was the middle ground between both of their neighborhoods. Well, the Abington boys would not take long to get their revenge. What if I told you that the Abington boys had a member just as wild as G Tru and Deontay? Well, his name
I wouldn't be surprised.
is Cortez Weaver, also known as Tez, and he was gonna make sure to get his revenge. July 17th, 2017. Tez walks across the street to the Sunoco gas station looking for 8 Trey members.
Nah, he a demon. He went directly to the source.
There he spots Maurice Mitch Finney hanging out outside. So he walks up and without hesitation, this was 8 Trey's first official loss, and it happened to be one of their only active members. As you would expect, G Tru was devastated and of course furious as well. Mitch was one of his close childhood friends, so this one cut really deep. And even though his side instigated this, he still felt like he was the victim. So the next day, he sent paragraphs to the group chat ranting about what they need to do. He vowed to claim 3 BGF lives, and he needed his members to step up. All of the members talked a good game in the group chat, but nothing would happen for the next month. On the morning of August 12th, G Tru would make an Instagram post vowing to get revenge for his best friend Mitch, and later that day he would unfortunately come through with his promise. At 10 p.m, G Tru calls up Gotti and asks him to bring him his car. He then removes the license plates, hops in the car, and drives over to the Abington territory. In front of the Abington liquor store, he spots a very important man. This would be a member named Theron McClary, a man whose rap sheet is longer than a giraffe's neck. So G Tru hops out solo once again.
Man, all this shit could have been avoided. This is kind of unfortunate, man.
This was a major deal in Baltimore, as Theron was an infamous man on the west side. And with this major move, G Tru hoped that this would inspire other 8 Trey members. However, 11 months would go by and nothing would take place. And here we are once again, G Tru thinking he needs to do it all himself. July 6th, 2018. It's a Friday night in West Baltimore, and the Abington boys are outside of their local market playing dice. The reason they're comfortably outside is because it had been 11 months since anything had happened. And I only say that because in Baltimore that's forever. Well, little do they know, Tru is having one of those days where he wants to make a statement. So at 10 p.m, Tru leaves his house and heads down to the Abington area. He then observes the dice game and decides to make a terrible move.
Yo, these niggas is just reckless.
He actually used the same blower here that he did with the 2017 Thomas McClary incident. Ultimately, this is how police tied the 2 incidents together. But wait, we're not quite there yet. Well, single-handedly, Tru had gotten the Back West 8 Trey to be one of the most feared sections in the city. This is despite many of his members never popping out. And unfortunately for him, this trend would continue into 2019. Enough was finally enough, and Tru decided to call an 8 Trey leader named Paco Diamonds all the way in LA. Over the phone, he asked the man for advice on what to do about inactive members, and that's when Tru learned about the infamous DP. Tru was inspired and wanted to DP a member named Ronnie Finney, also known as Finn. Finn happened to be one of Mitch's closest friends, so after he passed, he vowed to get revenge. Of course, this never occurred, and G Tru wanted to punish him. So after his phone call with the LA leader, Tru informed Finn that he would undergo a DP. Finn refused to oblige, so then Tru called over another member to help him out. This would be a member named Wrigley Shipley, also known as Crazy. Well, after
a DP sound like a L7, you know what I mean? So I've been around the Brooklyn lokes, you feel me? And that just sound like a L7, you feel me? That sound like.
Calling him over, Wrigley decided not to participate. In fact, all of the 8 Trey members thought this was a ridiculous idea and wouldn't help out. This is when Tru knew that nothing would come of 8 Trey and that he couldn't be like the leaders in LA or New York. By the spring of 2019, he had given up his dreams and decided to let the members do whatever they wanted. For most members, this meant sitting back and chilling, but for one member, it was the complete opposite. This, of course, would be Deontay Emons. And
Deontay like, nah, bro. Nah. I'm standing on business. And I'm getting it back in blood. All type of shit.
While the other members were sitting in the house chilling, he was outside as wild as ever. And that takes us to March 4th, 2019. It's a Monday night on the 8 Trey side of Hilton Avenue. It's a slow day, so Deontay decides to leave the Sunoco gas station to go post up on another corner. As he makes his way down, he notices an unfamiliar face on St. Joseph. So Deontay gets curious and approaches the man. He questions where the man is from and what he represents. Deontay then learns that the man has affiliations with BGF. That's when the two get into an argument, and sadly, Deontay takes it to the next level. Deontay then fled the scene on foot and was able to get away. But then the next day, an 8 Trey member named Smuppy would send a picture of Tywin Smith to the group chat with a question mark. Tru and Deontay would both respond confirming it was them. And to
I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is up with the text messaging. I'm really trying to wrap my head around that, because I've never met a group of people in this day and age like that break the law and do this. So I've never seen it.
To make things worse, later that day they would both take it to social media. Deontay would make an Instagram post pretty much bragging about what he had just done, and Tru would leave a comment that said no attempts, meaning that Tay always gets the job done. At this point, Deontay and Tru felt untouchable, kind of like they were evil twins. But as the two distinguished themselves from 8 Trey, one member would decide to step up. This would be Wrigley Shipley, also known as Crazy, and this guy would surprise Tru with a text in May of 2019. But first, let me set the context. As I stated in the beginning, 5 different 8 Trey sections formed in Baltimore, one of which being Nutty North Side. At the beginning, the Back West and Nutty North Side were allies, but in typical Baltimore fashion, they began beefing over territory. After the incident of Albert Pittman, G Tru wanted to take over the area of East Baltimore. Coincidentally, the Nutty North Side wanted the area as well, given that it's closer to their home turf. Somehow, this simple matter transitioned into a full-on 8 Trey versus 8 Trey beef. And in May of 2019, Wrigley Shipley would volunteer to make a statement. May 25th, 2019, Crazy
Oh boy.
he texts Tru and asks him to go on a mission with him against the Nutty North Side. Of course, Tru is ecstatic as no one has ever volunteered like this before. So he instantly agrees and picks him up at 9 p.m. They drive to East Baltimore looking for any Nutty North Side members. And that's when they spot a member named Daryl Fordham on the 500 block of Force Road. And that's when Crazy hops out. This incident shook up everything in Baltimore as all of the 8 Trey sets turned against G Tru and his squad. Everyone knew that they were wild and never to be trusted again. On top of this, all of the BGF members despised them as well. So as you would expect, 8 Trey would pay the cost in a major way. Or maybe not. Let me explain. In July of 2019, Tru became very upset at Deontay for telling his girl about everything that they had done. He saw this as a form of snitching and he wanted nothing to do with Deontay. He even instructed the other members to stop talking to him and to take his blower away. So that's exactly what they did, leaving Deontay without protection or a squad to hang around. Sadly, Deontay would not last long in the streets of Baltimore. On May 23, 2020, Deontay was found outside of Collins Market in the heart of BGF territory.
Damn, that's
To this day, no one knows who did this, whether it was G Tru or the BGF side. Regardless, this is a lesson that proves that no matter how many stripes you have, this life will lead to absolutely nothing. Friends who you risked your life for will turn their back on you after the smallest mistake. And the interesting part of this whole situation is that Tru's concerns about Deontay running his mouth should have been his last concerns. Instead, his own group chat that had every little thing they had done since 2016 probably
Yeah, cause that is crazy.
should. On top of this, after Baltimore police ran across Tru's social media, they were able to get a warrant to look through his phone. And after finding the group chat, they discovered every little thing they had done since 2015. There was no need for informants or any other proof. This was an easy case closed. And this is ultimately how the Back West 8 Trey was taken down. On October 7th, 2020, 10 members were indicted on all sorts of
Yo, something always happening on October 7th. You notice that? Didn't they get the O Block members? I don't even know if it was around October 7th, but I know it was around October. Something always happened beginning October. I mean, my birthday's October 10th, so a lot of good things happen, but a lot of bad things too.
of charges. Due to Tru's group chat, members who actually didn't do anything were now facing conspiracy charges for texts sent to the group. Life was pretty much over for anyone involved with the Back West 8 Trey. But then wild news would come in September of 2021. Trayvon Hall was released from jail and sent back home to Baltimore, all while his entire crew were still facing life in prison.
Holy moly!
The irony is that while all of the inactive members were going to prison, the man who actually did everything was sitting at home. Everyone was confused on why this happened, and a lot of people thought that he snitched. That was until the US Marshals had realized that they had released the wrong person. So just 3 weeks after his release, Trayvon Hall was sent back to jail on September 22nd. That must have been the wildest roller coaster of emotions, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, cause how the police even, what?
Well, in 2022, Trayvon Hall was sentenced to 37 years for all of his crimes. Wrigley Shipley, also known as Crazy, received 15 years. Then Marcus Williams, also known as Gangster C, received 7.5 years.
Nah, that's crazy.
The other members are either still facing trial or their sentences haven't been published. This is yet another example of why Baltimore is the second most dangerous city in the country, and sadly it hasn't gotten better. In fact, its homicide rate in 2022 was over 10 times higher than the city of LA. You can probably pin this to the high levels of poverty, but also to the complete dysfunction. In all of my Baltimore stories, it seems like the incidents are really never that deep, and because of that, it seems like a city that's nearly impossible to maneuver. Well, that was another crazy Baltimore story, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.